It's another big home game weekend for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and this weekend is special for the fans because it's homecoming. There's all sorts of events going on, including the parade tomorrow. But at 6 o'clock Saturday night, it's going to be all about Alabama and Vanderbilt. WVUA Sports Director Gary Harris has been keeping a close eye on the Tide, and he joins me now with more. Gary, thanks for being here, buddy.
My pleasure, as always. But before we get to football, you know how much I enjoy look at this every week.
Oh, yeah.
And those blue whales in particular are of great interest to me. I've always been fascinated by them. You know, that's the largest mammal in the world. And unlike humpbacks or sperm whales, they're not very often seen.
Right.
So that was some amazing video.
Very rare. Very rare.
I mean, I forget when you remember when you're a kid and you look in the textbook and they'd have the blue whale and they'd have like 30 buses lined up.
There you go.
To give you an idea how long they are.
The old biology class. Yeah.
So anyway, just found that very interesting. This football game is interesting, and I'll tell you why. Alabama has just dominated Vanderbilt through the years. Now, early on, back in a long, long time ago, Vanderbilt, believe it or not, was a premier program back in the old days of the Southern Conference and then in the early days of the Southeastern Conference, and they actually had a lot of success against Alabama. Vanderbilt at one time was a football power, but to give you an idea of how Alabama has dominated the series since 1960, Vanderbilt has won twice on the field. I say on the field because there's been some vacated victories and some forfeits because of NCAA situations with Alabama. But their last win in the series was 1984. Ray Perkins was in his second year as the Alabama head coach. They won at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Alabama went 5-6 that year, salvaged a little bit of the season because of the fact that they beat Auburn at the end. But it was also homecoming on that day. Wow. So, you know, Vanderbilt will take a little bit, I guess, of motivation from that fact. But Alabama is a 29-point favorite. But let me say this. While the Crimson Tide has been dominant on defense, Vanderbilt's not bad either, Danny. They come in 15th in the nation in total defense. Or check that, 11th in the nation in total defense, 5th in the SEC. That's how many good defenses there are in the SEC. In scoring defense, they're 15th in the country and 4th in the conference, right at 16 points a game. But Alabama, as we know, number 1 in the country in scoring defense at 8 points a game. You know, for Vanderbilt in this football game to have any chance, it's probably going to be because Alabama doesn't play well. If Alabama plays well, you know, they're going to win the football game. There you do see what Vanderbilt has done very well. They lead the nation in interceptions. Against Ole Miss, they've got a pick 6 there. So this is a competent football team. They're 3-1. They're 1-1 in the East Division, having beaten Ole Miss and lost at South Carolina. So while Alabama's clearly the better football team coming off emotional wins over Arkansas and Florida, Vanderbilt had a bye week. So I think they feel like they can come in here and play a respectable game, get it into the second half, and maybe, you know, hang around, and who knows what could happen. That's the Vanderbilt perspective. The Alabama perspective is, I think, to come out, be ready to play. It's homecoming. Give the fans something to be happy about, and I expect Alabama to win the football game going away.
Just don't take anything light. Is this possibly a trap game for Alabama?
Well, I don't know about that term, trap game. I mean, but I will say this. There's a lot of praise that's been heaped on this football team following the Florida game. Last year, Danny, people forget very quickly. Alabama was number 1 in the nation preseason, rolled out to 5-0 start, manhandled Florida 31-6. You had nationally acclaimed writers going on sports talk shows and saying Alabama could beat NFL teams.
Right.
South Carolina had no chance. South Carolina thumped Alabama in Columbia, and the Tide went on to lose to LSU, and then, of course, blew that home game against Auburn. So, complacency, is that a factor? You wouldn't think so after last year, but again, I think that Vanderbilt's only chance is for Alabama maybe to be complacent or not play well, and in that regard, maybe it could be a trap game, but I just don't see that happening. That defense is 1 year older. They're much more mature than last year, and I do think good football teams learn from the past, and I think this Alabama team is going to take care of business.
All right, we're running low on time, but real quickly, you got another big college game that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. You know, Auburn at Arkansas.
Right.
I mean, my goodness, you know, say what you want about Auburn, they just keep finding ways to win.
There you are.
And now they're going to roll into Fayetteville also. You got Florida down at LSU with Jeff Driscoll, the freshman quarterback, against that defense. But, you know, a lot of Alabama fans, Danny, will watch that game and want to compare how Florida plays against LSU in terms of how Alabama played against Florida. And also Tennessee and Georgia on the national scene. You've got Oklahoma and Texas, the Red River rivalry. So another big weekend. We're going to have it covered all evening long. And, of course, tomorrow morning on Crimson Tide Kickoff and tomorrow night on Sports Saturday at 10:15.
High school football tonight.
And high school football Friday. 12 games we'll have highlights from tonight at 10:35.
Super. All right, buddy. Thanks a bunch. And don't forget, you can get your game day started bright and early right here on WVUA TV. Join Gary Harris and John Holston for Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alvin. 8 a.m.